Hello and welcome to Rural Football with SportsAdda. I have with me Sid. Sid, once again, my forever partner in this show. So it's all about the semi-finals. The first semi-final is here. It's Italy versus Spain. Siddharth, take it away. What are your thoughts on this fixture and what do you make of it?
It's one of the toughest fixtures, I'd say, for both these teams. Like, even if you look at the road to the final, both had competitive groups where they were coming from. And if you look at the round of 16 opponents, Italy played Austria, and, at the same time, Spain played Croatia. Spain had a wonderful game against Croatia, I must say. But when they came to the quarterfinal against the Swiss side, they were a little iffy. They were on the
Correct.
back of two huge wins, five goal wins for them. But against the Swiss, it just didn't click for them. They weren't able to get those goals. But if you see the Italians, we came into the fixtures saying that they weren't tested enough. Yes, they were on a 30 game unbeaten streak, but they got two stern tests in Austria as well as Belgium, but they came through. Okay, so the Italians have proven that it's not just their luck that got them those 30 games that were unbeaten. They've beaten
Yeah.
two very strong sides to reach the semi-finals. And with Spain, they faltered in the group stages, but picked up in the last group game and the round of 16,
Yeah.
but faltered in their last game. They weren't able to get that goal for themselves. It was an own goal that saved them.
Yeah. And
And
against
of
10 men,
course, yeah,
10 men Switzerland you were talking about. Correct.
yeah.
Yes, please carry on. Yeah.
So with this, Spanish side today, a lot of onus will be on the ability to get those goals, because we
Correct.
know this Italian side is defensively very sound. Chiellini is back in the lineup. He'll be partnering Bonucci. They set a record, of 1,000+ minutes without conceding a goal,
Correct.
which is a record in itself. So defensively sound versus a team that is known for tiki-taka football, attacking style, but they need those goals. They've proven that they can get it with those 5 goals scored in 2 matches, but the last game was a little bit of a downer for them. But they need to
Yeah.
step up in this game if they want to qualify.
Yes, and you look at this fixture and you straight away what one thing comes to your mind is the 2012 Euro finals. Okay,
Of
Spain
course.
versus Italy. This the golden generation of Spain versus the young Bonucci with some hair on his head and Balotelli, and they had a great side as well. But then they were completely outplayed in the finals. So the history between these two teams, if you look at the major competition final, the last one that they played was this, and a big win for Spain in this game. So where were you when this game happened, particularly when the 2012 finals were happening?
We were all watching it at one of our friends' bars. A huge crowd over there, lots of
Uh,
enthusiasm. The Spanish crowd, they were ecstatic to say the least. Against an Italian side that were dominant, then a 4-0 win. But in the next Euros, again the same set of people, we were watching it, and the Italians silenced the Spanish side. They won 2-0 in the pre-quarters. So,
Correct.
they did get some form of revenge, but then both teams went on a decline over the years. They've come back up and regained their position in world football now. But today will be a test of both their characters, and I'm really looking
Yes.
forward to this game.
Yes. And the most important test as a Spaniard would be the defensive part, because Italians
Yeah.
are not only known for the defense, but the way they are keeping the possession and attacking on the wings. So speaking of Lorenzo Insigne, you think he's the player to watch out for because he has been phenomenal. The goal that he scored last time around, it was fantastic. So what are your thoughts, Sid?
Absolutely. He does have those goals in him. He's shown it time and time again, both for the Italian side as well as his club. But, for that goal, I thought the Belgians sat back a little too much. They
Yeah.
gave him too much space.
Yeah.
But that is what happens, right? You pay for those mistakes. And he did that. And the Spanish side will be cognizant of that. They will be aware that he has those goals in him. But speaking of the Italian attack, last game when we started the tournament, we had a lot of expectations of Chiesa, but he
Yeah.
started off the bench most times as an impact player. Did get
Correct.
those goals, but he was given Mancini's backing, and he did start the last game, and he did prove a very big thorn in the
Absolutely.
Austrian, sorry, in their side. So he is someone to watch out for, but we'll see whether Berardi or he start today. Mancini is known for his rotations, slight
Rotations, yeah.
rotations, tactical changes, but Insigne is a sure shot person to start along with Immobile in attack.
Absolutely. And Insigne has been really influential in making all those attacks from the left. He comes in the
Yeah,
center as well. So he provides a lot of stability, and he used to help Spinazzola to take those runs. Now, speaking of
yeah,
Spinazzola, he's going to be out for next 6 months, if I'm not wrong. He's had a
yeah.
muscle tear, and we wish him all the best. But he would be really missing out the action, and from an Italian perspective as well, Italy would be missing him because whenever Insigne used to take the players inside, Spinazzola was there for that overlapping runs. So,
Yeah.
he's been a very influential player. Now, in his absence, Emerson is going to be coming in. So, Sid, what are your thoughts? You think that, his shoes are very, very tough to fill in this Italian side?
I don't think it's impossible to fill because see Emerson has come in. He has won the Champions League with Chelsea, so full credit to him. He has the credentials to step up.
Correct.
Spinazzola was phenomenal for the Italians in this run, to the
Yes.
semi-finals, no doubting that. But Emerson has those credentials. He's there for a reason. Mancini is not just going to take any player in the final squad for the Euros, right?
Yeah.
So he does have this credential, and it's going to be an interesting battle because Emerson, while he's playing left back, is going to be facing Azpilicueta, his Chelsea teammate. So
Yes.
they would have faced off a lot in their training, so they will be familiar with each other. And that might have been playing on Mancini's head as well. I have a left back who's aware of the threat of the Spanish right back, and
Correct.
as well as the Spanish right back, he'll also be aware of Ferran Torres, who plays on the right. So
Correct.
he is the Spanish player to watch out for. He has been an attacking threat for them. And Emerson being used to both these players who will be, bombing down the right hand side for the Spanish will be a great asset for the Italians. So maybe a tactical change forced, but a one that will be for the good of the Italians.
Yes, and Ferran Torres, as you've spoken about him, Ferran Torres has been very comfortable playing on the right. He's an out and out right winger, something like a Jesus Navas in his days, who just likes to play on the right, just out and out righty. So you think that against an Emerson or just playing against players you've already played, you need to come up with something different because it becomes very monotonous after one point, right?
Absolutely. He would have been giving himself a better chance against Spinazzola, not taking any credit away from him. But, because he was unaware, he would have only seen videos. He might not have seen him up close and personal
Yeah,
on the pitch.
that's
Okay.
what.
He might have fancied a chance of, maybe a trick or a daft shift of his shoulder.
Yeah.
But now he's up against Emerson, who's been watching him over the last one season. But, Spinazzola also a little unlucky in the quarterfinals, rupturing his Achilles tendon. It's a tough injury to come from. I believe he's been flown in for surgery today, so hopefully he recovers well. And
Yeah.
you know, Ferran Torres himself will be attacking a lot with Aspie's help, and probably looking to Aspie for advice of how to get past Emerson, because the Chelsea teammate will know a few of his weaknesses playing day
Yeah.
in and day out with him over the years.
Aspilicueta is a legend. We all know what he has done for Chelsea, and even
Yeah,
for Spain, he's proving out to be an amazing player. And he's really, been the rock in the defense. Himself and Jordi Alba with all that experience that they have. But speaking of, match fitness, there is a injury concern here with Laporte because he has been phenomenal throughout the tournament. As we mentioned that he's also surpassed he's actually made sure that the presence of Ramos is not missed in this tournament with his presence and the way he's come into the side, just being being a French before the tournament and now just taking on the Spanish national citizenship and now he's playing for Spain. So what do you think with his absence, if at all there is one, it will be a big problem for the Spanish?
it will be a problem because see, any play team that you take, a centre back partnership is something that you don't mess around with a lot because
Correct.
they are your last line of defense. They are the people who hold the line for the offside trap. They are the one. They are the leaders usually. And as you can see with Bonucci and Chiellini, they are the leaders in the Italian team, and the same has to be taken up by the Spanish side. They have young centre backs, Eric Garcia, Pau Torres, even Laporte, young players who have come into this tournament and proven themselves. but you need a stable partnership. You can't keep changing it. So if
Yeah,
unfortunately Laporte does have to sit this one out, I don't think it will be a big issue because these players have trained over the last few maybe weeks or maybe even a month now. So Garcia and Pau Torres, I think, will be the ones who start in case Laporte has to miss out. But this will be a partnership that will be playing for the first time in an official game.
correct.
So it might be a little iffy. There might be nerves, maybe a few communication gaps in and around the game, and that might be something that the Italians capitalize on. So hopefully
And
Laporte is able to start.
yes, and just speaking of, the experience that's not there in the defense, there's a lot of experience in the midfield with Koke and, Sergio Busquets.
Busquets.
So
Yeah,
there will be a lot of familiar faces for us, but for them, it's, yeah, you need a Sergio Busquets there to make sure that they calm their nerves down, because Pau Torres and, Eric Garcia are fairly young, and they've not
yeah,
played at the international level as much, and playing a semi-final straight up, it's a very big thing.
yeah,
In the mind itself, it plays a lot with you. So yes, it's very important for players like Aspilicueta, Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets to just calm them down and make sure that you all focus on the process and not the
yeah.
result. So you think that today Sergio Busquets will have even more of an important role if at all there is an absence of Laporte today?
Of course. So, with Busquets, he might sit a little deeper and play as a third man in defense.
Yeah,
So, we'll see how the tactics work. But, Busquets has been phenomenal after he's come in. He's had to nurture a young Pedri who's come and become the youngest person to represent Spain at a Euros tournament.
correct,
But he's been phenomenal. Okay, if I talk about Busquets, he is a leader. He leads them. He is one of the people from the golden generation that has led them here. And Pedri is going to take that mantle from them. He has been full of running, full of energy. He actually is the person who's covered the most ground in these Euros till now.
what are you
So
saying?
60 plus
And
kilometers that he's
wow,
covered in these few games. So they have a phenomenal player in him, and hopefully he goes on to become a stalwart in the Spanish defense. But for now, Busquets will be the leader, leading the team from the back, and maybe trying to break those plays and ping those balls forward for the attackers to run into.
like, and Sid, if you speak of these two teams, if you look at the head-to-head fixture as well, in all competitions included, Spain have won major of them, but it's not been like a landsliding victory for Spain. It's always been neck and neck, other than that
Yeah.
4-0 win in the final. So you think that, these stats really don't matter, like we always talk about. But really, if you had to pick, who has the better balance in a team, before predicting the winner, I just want to know which team, according to you, has a better balance and will be more, if I may say the word, sorted in their defense, in their attack, and more fixed as a unit.
I think if you talk about it that way, Spain are a little more in transition than the Italians, who seem to be more solidified, and they are set in their system.
Correct.
It's been seen over the years with Mancini taking over, and if I talk about the record itself, what we just saw, there are more draws than anything, but and both teams cannot be distinguished in terms of wins or losses, very fine
Yeah,
margins. But again, coming back to the teams, if you remember at the start of the tournament, you had asked who is your ideal team to win the tournament, and I'd said Italy at that point.
Italy at that
So
time.
they
Yeah,
are, because of the way they have been set up over the years, they are coming in as a solid unit. And we were had our concerns whether they've not been tested enough. They have beaten the world number one team now. They have
yes,
proven themselves, but uh, slight setback with Spinazzola's injury, but I think they have it in them to cope up with that as well. But
yes,
we'll see how the managers set up. But a main concern for me will be whether Luis Enrique can get the goals from his team, because
correct.
if they are to win this game, they are going to have to break Roberto Mancini's defensive setup.
Absolutely. What a good point that is. Because, when Chiellini was absent in one of the games, they had
Yeah,
someone take his place and they made sure that they kept a clean sheet. So it's not that
yeah,
Chiellini is the only person to rely on, or probably there is no one else in the team. What I'm trying to say is they've got a replacement for everyone. That's the kind of, composure and the compactness the team has. The setup
yeah,
of the team is such that if one of the key players is missing out, they have someone to back him up, and they have an equally good player on the bench.
yeah.
So a good point you made there. So if today you don't have a Spinazzola, Emerson is good enough and talented enough to take that place, and maybe he can have a great game as well. Now speaking of Spain as well, Luis Enrique, like you said, they have to ensure goals. they don't have anyone. If you look at just the squad out there, they don't have a fixed player or a way of which they would get the goals. Like if you look at an Italian side, you've got anyone can score a goal. You saw Barella score that magnificent goal last time around. But
Yeah,
generally speaking, you've got Insigne, Ciro Immobile up front. So these two are the ones who are majorly the target men, if you have to look
yeah,
at in the goal scoring perspective. But if you look at the Spanish side, there is no such player other than Ferran Torres or Morata. And even with Morata, he has not scored goals like how many he needs to score for his team. So you
yeah.
think that that is a void that needs to be filled when it comes to this match today?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the setup, okay, Luis Enrique sets up very uh, static. He has his set of players. He has
Correct.
only experimented in attack, if you see, and that is because those goals weren't coming in. While if you see Mancini, 25 of his 26 players have already played
Wow.
in this tournament. He's given his
That's
players
fantastic.
time to get acclimatized to this tournament, get those minutes under their belt. Because if in case of an injury, it's not that the person comes in at this late stage like the semifinals with nerves. The same has been done to a certain extent by Luis Enrique, but not to the level Mancini has done. Extremely good man management by him, but even Enrique, good man management, but it's difficult to give players. Everyone wants, okay, fine, I'm winning with this set of players, I'm going to continue with it. And maybe
Correct.
he's played it safe, experimented in attack because he wasn't getting the goals. He did reap the fruits, two five goal wins over there.
Yes,
But
yes.
if you see, they have attacking players. They have Gerard Moreno. They have Olmo. They have innumerable players. They have Ferran Torres. They have the Morata. But they have to be set. Morata and Ferran Torres are more likely to start. There is an injury concern, on their left wing, but
Correct.
we'll see how things develop. They will be looking for those goals because he has stuck with Morata. Morata has delivered goals, but not like your typical striker. And I've said during this tournament, Morata isn't your typical finisher. He is a fox in
Correct.
the box. He gets goals, but he's not prolific. Maybe
Yes.
like an Insigne or a Ciro Immobile, but he does get the goals.
Yeah.
But today it'll be important to see whether he's able to get those crucial goals because they need to pounce on their chances. Because if they
Correct.
don't, this Italian side will find it fairly easy against the Spanish.
We'll just walk past the Spanish side because of what the
Yeah,
experience is, and 32 wins, unbeaten 32 games. So
yeah,
it is a lot to take for, firstly, when you look at just the stat. Now, moving
yeah.
on, and just, final question, who do you predict to be the winner today? And what would be the score according to you?
A lot will depend on how these managers set up their players. With the Italian side, I think they'll go with their 4-3-3 formation, which they've
Yeah.
already continued on, unless Mancini feels the Spanish attack might be a little overwhelming and maybe move to a three at the back, maybe to compensate for Spinazzola's absence. But I
Absolutely.
do think he will stick to his 4-3-3 formation, which is working for him. He has players, he trusts Emerson. So the Italian side will set up with the 4-3-3. The question for me is who starts on the right, okay, in
Yes.
place. So who will it be there? Will it be Chiesa or will it be Berardi? So who
Yeah.
will be starting on the right? But if I look at the Spanish, the defense is a concern for me because they do leak goals. It's not that they are very sound at defense.
Absolutely.
So the absence of Laporte might be crucial for them. If he does start, whether he is able to play at 100% will be a question for them. The midfield, I think, is more or less set with Busquets, Koke, and Pedri. The forward line is Morata and Ferran Torres. I'm sure will start, but
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
left, whether it be Dani Olmo, Gerard Moreno, or someone else, we'll have to see. So, the Italians have that base of a very, very strong setup defensively and in attack. The
Correct.
midfield is very compact as well. The Spanish side do have a few concerns, maybe a little bit of inexperience, but they are a force to be reckoned with. We've seen that if you score 5 goals 2 consecutive games in the Euros, that means you have the attacking threat.
You're good enough. Yes.
But
Mhm.
against the Swiss side, they weren't able to deliver that. So it depends which Spanish side turns up today, whether it's the 5 goal
Yes.
scoring Spanish side or the one that struggled to
It's a
get
good
goals
point, man.
against the Swiss. So I think they will turn up today, but the Italians have the experience with them, especially in defense with Bonucci and Chiellini. So it might be a 3-2 or a 2-1 win for the Italians, in my opinion.
Fantastic. So you are trying to say that Italians will concede 2 goals. That's more
Yeah,
shocking than predicting an Italian win, because that's pretty straightforward for one.
yeah,
But you spoke of Swiss versus Spain as well, and how they need to come up with a with that 5-0 win. The Spain that they had, they
yeah,
need to come with that side, not with the side
yeah.
that drew and merely won on penalties. The penalties also were not the best ones. It was one of the worst penalty
True.
shootouts that Spain would have had in their history, with two or
Yeah,
three odd misses. And playing at this level with that kind of a team, you really expect more from your side. So when you
yeah,
talk about mental confidence, or just the nerves and everything, Spain are more on a low than on a
yeah.
high coming to the semis. With the performance that they had against Swiss, it was the goalkeeper who probably won the game, and Switzerland were equally bad when it came to the penalties. So you
Yeah.
really can't say that they were fantastic enough to beat
And
Switzerland in
actually,
penalties.
the Swiss players helped them win because those
Exactly,
penalties weren't up to the level. And
exactly my
talking
point.
about confidence, that is what might be a additional
Difference.
motivation for the yeah, because one team has come in beating the best team in the world right now, and the other
Yeah.
has come in against the Swiss side. The Swiss side were good. They reached the quarterfinals, beating n number of teams that were much better than them. So they had it in them, especially beating one of the
France.
group of dead winners, France, who are world champions. So all credit to them. But they have to come up with the goals, which I think they will today. The Italians do have that little bit of iffy with Emerson on the left, so I think they can get those goals. But I still
Yes.
think the Italians have the edge over them today.
Yes, and that's what most people would agree with, because Italians are the most favored side to win the Euros now. Now
Yeah,
that Portugal, France, Germany, and Belgium are out, so they are the forefront in running for the winning.
yeah.
And now, thank you so much. Finally, I want to know who will be the goal scorer. This is something different, but I want to know who will score the goals. We need to take this prediction to a next level now.
So obviously, in the Italian side, no one's going to doubt. It's going to be Immobile and Insigne. But from the Spanish side, I think Morata will come up with at least a goal today. And for Pedri, I'm hoping he gets one of those goals. He's put in a major shift, running box to box. So hopefully, he can get his first goal over here.
Okay, then let's hope that it happens like how you've said it. But I personally feel that it can be an Italian clean sheet again, given the fact that they are really high on confidence, and the way
True.
Italy are playing. It could be another clean sheet, another 1-0, 2-win win for Italy. So that's my prediction for today. Even I'm going to predict something. It's an Italian win, 2-0 probably, hopefully. And thank you for joining with me, Sid. It was fantastic. Tomorrow we have an
Pleasure.
amazing game again. It's England versus Denmark tomorrow. There's going to be an amazing game tomorrow as well. So I'll see you tomorrow for the show. Thank you so much. Have a good day. This was Total Football with SportsAdda.